I quickly realized that the harsh way that I was judging myself was kind of this unreasonable person inside of me saying that I still needed to be doing better.
Take a chance, put yourself out there and accept feeling uncomfortable rather than working so hard to not feel uncomfortable.
You're going to stumble. Don't let that stop you. Just quiet that negative self-talk. And my favorite phrase from the class, just ask yourself, what would confident me do?
Welcome to The Art of Speaking Up, a podcast that helps professional women access the limitless potential that lies within them. I'm your host, Jessica Guzik, and my mission is to help you find that spark inside you that has the power to transform your career in ways you may not have thought possible. I'm so excited that you're here. And now, on to the show. Welcome to the podcast. As you can probably tell by the opening clips of this episode, today's episode is an interview episode, and I am so excited for you to hear this conversation because it is going to help you reignite your belief in your ability to grow and change. When we are working on speaking up more and having more confidence in the room, we will inevitably encounter struggles and obstacles, and sometimes those obstacles can make you feel like you might be permanently stuck, and they can make you wonder if change is actually possible for you. And one of my favorite things about the conversation that you are about to hear is that there are so many pieces of wisdom and advice that will help you see that if you are willing to do the work, take small steps, and put one foot in front of the other, you can absolutely achieve growth, not only in your voice and your communication style as a leader, but also in how confident you feel internally. Today, I am chatting with three women who I worked with inside of my group program, the Art of Speaking Up Academy. If you're newer here and it's your first time hearing about the Academy, this is my main program where I support my clients in building deep internal confidence and also in elevating their voice and communication skills as a leader. Today, you are going to hear us talk about how to build confidence, even if you're feeling stuck, how to get past the sneaky habits that feel helpful but can hold you back from speaking up in the room, how to push past the false beliefs that can get in the way of building confidence, how to leverage the power of small strategic steps to grow your confidence in a way that is sustainable, and how releasing pressure and perfectionism can help your confidence grow more quickly. Today, you are going to meet three women. First, you'll meet Nicole. Nicole is an inspired and people-centered global marketing executive with over 15 years scaling brand portfolios that are $100 million and plus in size. You're also going to meet Jenny. Jenny is a strategic data leader for nonprofit associations. She specializes in data strategy and enterprise solutions that leverage the power of data to drive operational efficiency, organizational alignment, and meaningful impact. And you're also going to meet Edyie. Edyie is a seasoned CPG sales strategist with over 22 years of experience. She specializes in wholesale strategy for chocolate and cookie brands across retail and food service channels. The first woman you're going to hear from is Nicole, and you will hear her dive into the question of what element of your transformation do you feel most proud of? Let's meet Nicole.
For me, what I feel most proud of are my shifts in mindset that I've been able to make. I feel really strongly that it does all start there, and you really have to work to grow and adjust your mindset first before any of the tools can take impact. I don't think we culturally talk enough about how mindset is important in business, and I think particularly for women. And I think this is something that I've become personally dedicated to imparting to my team and people that I know. I work with so many talented women, and they're all capable of far more than they even believe. And I think this mindset piece is so critical to that.
Yes, that's so interesting to observe it in other people because I think that that naturally helps you understand your own experience. So I'm just curious, like, as you observe it in others, like you see, wow, this person is so talented and she's severely underestimating herself. Has that impacted your own work?
It absolutely does. You see the behaviors playing out in someone else, and then, you kind of turn that inward of like, how am I doing this to myself too? And I think it's something that can apply to so many areas. I think, parenting, like we just see each other and we're so hard on ourselves. And I think like just being able to recognize that behavior and call it out and really kind of turn the tables of like, okay, my inner dialogue is maybe telling me one thing, but what would I say if I were a friend instead? And I think being able to turn that table is very useful. And so that's something that I hope everyone can learn. And that's my wish for the people that I'm working with of just like, it's such a shift and it's so helpful to really just like give yourself that grace.
Yes, so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Nicole. And we'll go to Jenny next. Jenny, what growth and evolution within yourself are you most proud of?
Mine would also be my mindset shift, like Nicole said, more specifically, just stopping waiting on being perfect at something and being comfortable with being uncomfortable or being okay, accepting being uncomfortable. That was a big hurdle for me in the beginning, was just not wanting to be uncomfortable. Even if in my mind I said, like there's no reason to be uncomfortable in this situation, like almost sometimes physically, I just would be uncomfortable. So just changing my mindset and thinking through the psychology of it versus spinning my wheels, trying to study, learn, read, research on how to eventually become confident. Such a better use of time to focus that time and energy on your mindset and addressing the things that are never going to go away, right? Because you are who you are. That was another big piece, just really understanding those feelings don't go away. You think maybe when you see other people who are super extroverted and great speakers, that they don't ever get the feelings, but it's not about never getting the feelings. It's about being okay with them.
Yes. And sometimes our minds really like to say, if I can just learn this next tip, or if I can
Yes,
just like find this next piece of information, that will be the unlock. And it sounds like for you, it was realizing maybe it's time to go deeper.
that was huge for me. I always used to over prepare to feel ready, but now I trust that my perspective is valuable as it is. And if it's not, that's okay.
Yes.
Right?
And there's nothing wrong with that tendency to want more information. I think we are all ambitious, intellectual women. We love to learn. And so I think it can be a natural direction for us to go in. But it makes me happy to hear that, like, for you, the emotional piece was really the emotional piece, and the mindset piece was really where you saw change.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. How about you, Edyie? What do you feel most proud of when you reflect on your growth and evolution?
Just being able to sit down and take a look at the reality and how best to handle that inner critic and how best to really have my back and self-compassion for myself and allow myself to make mistakes and not walk away just beating myself up for it and not being able to easily rebound. We all make mistakes. We're never going to be perfect, and it's not even worth trying to be perfect. It's worth working with what you have and your abilities and being able to really see them. And so taking the negative self-talk and putting it in its place was huge for me.
If someone's listening and thinking inner critic, I think I know what that is, but I'm not totally sure I know what that is. What is the inner critic, or at least how you define it for yourself?
I always think of the little devil on your shoulder. It's that little whisper inside your ear telling you that you can't do it. You're not up for this. Everybody in the room is higher level and they're much smarter. And if you say anything, they're just going to realize that you don't know anything. And you can't ever really get rid of it, but you can control it. And that's really helped me in learning that throughout the Art of Speaking Up Academy.
In terms of trying to be perfect, do you feel like that was something that you initially were trying to do? Like, let me just try to get it perfect?
Oh, absolutely. And I would beat myself up because you rarely get anything just right. There were a lot of times where I would walk away and that inner critic would just beat me up. And so, really acknowledging it, but acknowledging the fact that it's never going to go away. It just needs to be put in its place was huge for me.
Yes. I love everything y'all are sharing. There's a theme coming up of changing what our goal is, changing our high level goal from let me get this perfect and let me get this right to let me try to better navigate the thoughts and feelings that are pressuring me to feel like I need to get it right. And that can be both really freeing and it can help us feel less self conscious and really support you all in taking up space. So I love hearing that theme emerge. We'll go into the next question. We'll go back to you, Nicole. So, in our work, were there any beliefs that you initially had that through the conversations and work that we did, you started to realize weren't true?
For me, it's easy to assume that everyone has a rock solid mindset for confidence. And it's really just not the case. I think everyone faces their own different struggles. And so I think that shift for me was just understanding that working on mindset is so important. And I think just knowing that everyone has work that they can do in that area and has, a set of misconceptions that they're dealing with.
Yes. It's extremely easy for us to assume that everyone feels amazing and is having amazing thoughts about themselves because we don't see their thoughts, right? So it requires a lot of imagination and slowing down to maybe consider that the people around us are having similar experiences. And then in a workplace, no one's going to really want to out that or be open about that because there's pressure to project a certain image. Okay, we'll go to you next, Jenny. Did you have any false beliefs either about confidence or about yourself that you started to question and realize were untrue?
I've always associated confidence with being an extrovert, and I am an introvert to the core. So it was just kind of that false belief of you either have it or you don't, and it's only possible for extroverts. So realizing that that is by far not true at all was super helpful.
Yes, yes. As a fellow introvert, I fully agree. And that makes me happy. And how about you, Edyie? Did you have any beliefs about confidence or about yourself that you realized weren't true?
Well, mine's kind of a combo. I believed that people just were naturally confident, and I believed I was not one of those people. So being able to come in and realize that it's just putting in the work to really focus and learn how to become more confident made such a difference for me. And it's a daily thing that I work on, but I'm making progress, and that has been huge.
Yes. Oh my gosh. These answers are making me happy. It's so easy for us to compare ourselves to other people, to make assumptions that we're so far behind other people. And it's just wild. It's like these things aren't even true and they're holding us back and they're not based on anything real. They're based on our own imagination. So it can be so powerful when we start to really see that. And then we start to think, what else am I imagining that's not true, that's holding me back and getting in my way? So love that. The next question is around light bulb moments. So I'll have you each share something that really clicked for you and a light bulb moment that you had based on our time together. So we'll start with you, Nicole. What was one light bulb moment or something that clicked for you that felt useful?
For me, it was just the idea of I'm much more of a perfectionist than I ever thought. I never really identified myself in that way, but I quickly realized that the harsh way that I was judging myself was kind of this unreasonable person inside of me saying that I still needed to be doing better. It could be a good performance, and there was still like that idea in my head that it could have been better. And so that was definitely a light bulb moment for me because I didn't realize that I was really like putting this serious undue pressure on myself. And we would never judge someone else in this way, but we absolutely do it to ourselves. And I think the first step out of that is really like recognizing when it's happening. So I think that was a big one for me. I don't really identify with like the description of a perfectionist, but I think definitely moments where I'm certainly doing that to myself, the same sort of damage.
How about you, Jenny? What is a realization or a light bulb moment that you had?
When I started the academy, one of my personal concerns was that I'm just not articulate enough and I have to say the perfect things. And so one of my favorite moments was pretty early on, actually. And I remember writing down, I can still see it on the paper. I wrote down, it's not about learning all the right words, it's saying all the wrong words and being okay with it. And it's so true.
Oh, that's so good. Did I say that? Where did that come from?
No, I did. I just wrote it down for myself based on, I can't remember. I think we were on Swamp.
Oh my gosh, that is gold.
Yeah.
I heard that. I was like, that sounds good. I don't think I said that. That does I don't remember saying that. Where did that come from? That is genius. So good. Okay. Thanks for sharing that, Jenny. How about you, Edyie? Were there any light bulb moments or realizations that you had?
When I first came into class and I met Nicole and met Jenny, and those first impressions, I'm just like, oh my goodness, these are both fabulous women that are in great careers and they've done so well for themselves. And I am just not on their level. And this is something that they really don't have to be at this class. But there were times when I would speak in class and just talk about somewhat, personal kind of admissions as far as how I was feeling at different times. And Nicole and Jenny would both say, yes, I'm feeling the same way. And just to hear that these women that I had a lot of admiration for and was comparing myself to negatively just felt the same way. It made me feel so much better in the fact that I'm not alone. And the reality is that a lot of us feel exactly the same way and very unsure and need that ability to grow in their confidence.
Yeah, it's wild how much knowing that we're not alone can change how we feel internally. It's quite remarkable.
I'll just add, I think that was a huge light bulb moment for all of us. It was just like listening to the podcast where you're like, she's talking to me, that's me. Same thing when cohort members shared, we could all really relate to it.
100%. And that's the power of being in a group as well, is you really get to see other people's experiences. You get to see what's happening inside other people's minds. Okay, so the next one is on wins. So we will start with you again, Nicole. Has there been a recent moment, even if it's a small moment, where you really realized like, oh, this moment is showing me that I've grown?
My biggest win is just giving myself that credit more so than I used to. It doesn't sound monumental, but I think my inner peace is in a better balance because of it. And so I've learned that when there is that extra noise, it was mostly me creating that extra noise, and tuning that out has done so much for just my focus and my efficiency. And so I would say that is the biggest win that impacts me on a day-to-day basis, just being able to like stay focused and like tune out that extra noise that doesn't need to be there.
That mental noise is exhausting. I think one of the fun things about working on ourselves is we regain energy, and sometimes we regain time and focus, and that can feel really good. We'll go to Edyie next on this one. So I'm curious what yours will be, Edyie. But yeah, what's a recent moment where you realized you had grown?
It's really when I'm going into meetings and my thought process and just how I prepare and get ready. It's so different. I mean, before it was a lot of the inner critic, and the inner critic's still there, but I can push the inner critic to the side and go in just reminding myself, I've got this. I have the knowledge that I need walking into it, and I can speak up and take up space and be a much more of a leader and be proud of the fact that I can contribute well.
I love that. These are so fun to hear. We'll start with you, Nicole. If someone is struggling to believe that change is possible for them, which I think is a place that we have all been, and we know what that feeling is, but if someone is thinking that they're stuck, that change won't be an option for them, what would you most want that person to hear?
Thinking that growth or change is not possible is kind of part of the problem. So I think I would encourage them to just turn that on its head, right? And that's your first place you start. And you need small steps and you need actionable tools for any sort of personal, professional growth. And it will happen in your own way, but you just have to be dedicated that you are going to make it happen. So I think it's really just that dedication part.
I love that framing. I've never thought about it as that is part of the problem, but that it's true. I've never heard it stated that way, and it makes so much sense. The first step is we have to be willing to be really brave and believe that it's possible so that we can go out and try to make it happen.
Yeah, it definitely takes bravery, especially around, some of these topics that it feels like your mindset has been like that since day one, like this
Yeah.
is just who I am. I'm hard coded to be this way. So I think those are some of the hardest things and like the stuff that you have to be bravest on trying to make real change around.
That's a very important and useful point, which is number one, it takes courage to believe that something different is possible for us. And number two, if we haven't changed yet and we've been a certain way our entire lives, it takes that much more courage because we're really betting and believing on a big change. And I think what you're sharing is just sort of reminding me of how big it is. Like, it's easy to say it and talk about it, but it really does require an insane amount of guts to say, I'm going to change and I'm going to go all in and I'm going to believe that I can do it, even though I don't yet have the evidence of what the future is going to look like.
Yeah. And I really do think everyone is capable of it.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And it feels so powerful when we finally reach that tipping point and we're like, okay, I'm sick of being stuck and I'm ready to do the scary thing. How about you, Jenny? What would you say to someone who's feeling stuck or feeling like maybe they can't grow and change?
I would say the truth is most people you admire have felt exactly the same way. But every time you take a small step forward, whether it's asking a question, giving feedback, or just showing up more fully, you're proving to yourself that the growth is possible. It's definitely not overnight, but it's absolutely within reach. My favorite thing about the Academy is it just breaks it down into like specific, doable, not intimidating tasks. And so you kind of focus on doing those, and then the confidence just comes naturally because of that. So I would say start taking up space in emails to start. That's what I did. And then work your way up.
Yes. I love that so much. I think for perfectionists, sometimes small steps feel like not enough. So we have to get past that block and say, this is better than nothing, right? Like, this is a great initial step. And then I love what you're sharing. It can snowball, right? It's not going to end here. This is just the starting point.
Yes. So it's not nearly as overwhelming.
Yes, I love that so much. How about you, Edyie? What would you say to someone who feels stuck or is worried that change isn't possible for them?
For me, I mean, the way that you really become more confident is by taking on those scary steps. And it can be very intimidating. And it can be an easy choice just to say, I don't want to take on the scary stuff. It's so much less painful and less intimidating if I just slide by, stay quiet, and don't take up any space. But if you take on the scary stuff, then you grow and you become more confident. That's what I loved about the class, because we were taught in small steps just how to really take on those challenges that feel so intimidating and feel so scary, so that you can make it through them and grow and learn from it and become stronger.
There's so much that we can do when we have tools and support. So I love hearing that. These are so good. So what we're going to do is I will ask you all just open-ended, what's your best advice for someone who wants to be a better communicator? So let's start with you, Nicole. What would you say to someone who's working on speaking up and sounding effective?
My best advice is to really find the voice that feels most authentic to you. I think there's a lot of ideas out there of what a leader in the corporate or business world should sound like. And I would encourage people to really just kind of put all of that to the side. I think it's more about how you feel confident communicating. I think that's the most important thing to remember, that if you are using the language that feels most resonant to you, that is going to kind of shine through. And there's no need to communicate in any other way but what feels right for you.
Beautiful. Okay. How about you, Jenny? What's your best advice for someone who wants to be a better communicator?
Start communicating.
Yeah, good one.
Right? That was a big one. So take a chance, put yourself out there and accept feeling uncomfortable rather than working so hard to not feel uncomfortable. Really one of the big themes of the academy, right? Just like accept the feeling, address the mindset versus working so hard to prepare and say the right things. And then it saves you a lot of time too.
Yeah, so good. I love that so much. How about you, Edyie? What's your best advice for someone who wants to speak up more and do that more effectively?
I agree with both Nicole and with Jenny. It's don't try to avoid being incorrect or saying the wrong thing or trying to make yourself sound perfect when you speak and communicate. It's much more important to go into it bravely and have confidence in yourself that what you have to contribute is valuable.
Okay, we're almost at the end. We're at the closing questions, which is exciting. So we have 2 closing questions, but before I ask them, I'll throw out an open-ended question. Are there any other thoughts, takeaways, reflections that we haven't covered that any of you want to share?
I love the idea of expert energy and the module that we do on that. I think it's such a good practice for anyone who thinks they really can't do it to change your mindset to almost like you're acting. And it actually sort of makes it fun, So if you like prepare yourself, that I'm just going to show up as an expert and kind of turn it into acting. If you don't feel that you can be confident, kind of change your mindset to, can I act as a confident person? And it's actually kind of fun to try out.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. I have so many thoughts on that. But one thing that I'll add in is that sometimes when we play with it and say, can I find expert energy? Then we start to feel it for real. And we start to actually find it within ourselves. Because the goal isn't like that we want to always pretend to be certain. Although sometimes there are situations where we have to do that and we're feeling doubtful inside and we have to show up really strong. But often when we act into that expert energy and that level of confidence, then we start to realize, I know what I'm talking about. I know this subject matter. Why was I thinking I didn't? Of course I can talk about it this way.
Yes. So if your inner critic just won't let you feel confident enough to do it, then just pretend.
Yes, so good. I love that, Jenny. Okay, so the first of the closing questions is about the title of the show, The Art of Speaking Up. So we'll start again with you, Nicole. What does the art of speaking up mean to you?
What it means to me personally, there was definitely a time where I was forcing myself to speak up because I knew that it was healthy for my growth. And, I knew there was a reason I was sitting in on these meetings, but I was doubting what I was saying and not feeling strong about that. And I don't do that to myself anymore, which is great and extreme growth in itself. But wish I had gotten to that place of growth faster. And that's my wish and hope for people to have that recognition sooner. And for the program, that's my hope of that everyone can be so lucky is to work through some of these concepts. And I think the art is really in knowing your worth and knowing that there are tools at your disposal to prove it, no matter what stage you're at in your career, because I don't think it needs to be something that should only come with, a certain amount of years of experience. That's my hope, is that everyone can feel that they have something valuable to provide and speak up for in any interaction.
I love that. It's so beautiful. All right, Jenny, how about you? What does the art of speaking up mean to you?
To me, the art of speaking up is about finding the courage to express your voice, even when it feels uncomfortable or risky. It's an act of self-respect and leadership. And it's not just about speaking louder, it's about speaking with intention, true to yourself, and in alignment with your values and who you are.
Oh, I love that so much. How about you, Edyie? What does the art of speaking up mean to you?
I kind of took it in as far as the art factor, and great artists aren't great because they never mess up. They're great because they continue and they continue and they practice. And the same goes for speaking up. I mean, it takes practice, it takes persistence, and it takes a whole lot of self-compassion. You're going to stumble. We all do. We all stumble. But don't let that stop you. Just quiet that negative self-talk embrace the emotional ups and downs. And my favorite phrase from the class, just ask yourself, what would confident me do?
Oh, that's so good. Thank you all for sharing. Final question. The final question is inspired by the same thing that inspired the show. So I started this show because I had a time in my corporate career where I was deeply struggling with self-confidence. And I pretty much made it through to the other side of that and realized that I wanted to share honest stories and encouragement with anyone who was still struggling to find their voice and feel really solid in the workplace. So with that in mind, I want to give this last space to each of you to share any final words of encouragement that you would want to share with anyone who is listening on the other end, hoping to reignite their belief in themselves. So we'll start with you, Nicole.
If I had one message to send to listeners, and for me, since like young women in particular is who I'm most passionate about reaching, I think it's just that you are important and that the things you are struggling with are normal. And also you're capable of changing them. And I want to encourage you to keep digging into those areas, especially the ones that feel uncomfortable, even if it's embarrassing. Because I promise you that the journey that comes from it will be authentic to you and it will be worthwhile.
Oh, that's so powerful. Thank you for sharing that, Nicole. How about you, Jenny?
Mine is that you're not too old, you're not too inexperienced, and you're not too busy to join the academy. It'll be one of the most memorable and most important career steps you'll take. And even if you don't really want to be a leader in your career, but you would like to work on speaking up in your personal life, it's just as applicable.
How about you, Edyie?
The biggest takeaway for me was, what would confident me do? So you take that, what would confident me do, and do it. And confidence grows just by doing those hard things over and over. So go out there and embrace those emotions. Don't try to avoid them, and take it on and get through it and get stronger.
Oh, that was so good. Thank you all so much for coming on the show and letting me interview you.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun.
Oh, good. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. And I wanted to pause and take a minute to share a really big heartfelt thank you to Nicole, Jenny, and Edyie for being so courageous and coming on the show to talk about their growth and share their stories of transformation. This type of openness and transparency requires a ton of boldness and internal bravery, and them being willing to do this is a benefit to everyone. This is one of the reasons that I started this show, is because we need to have more real, honest conversations, normalizing the struggles that we face as professional women, and most importantly, helping us see and believe that we have what it takes to grow into that big, bold, confident leader that we dream of becoming. I am so thankful to them for sharing their stories and for inspiring me and for inspiring all of us. My favorite takeaway from what they shared is that building confidence doesn't come from being perfect, and it doesn't come from never having moments of internal struggle, but actually it comes from being so strong internally that the internal struggle no longer has the power to knock us down. As you can tell, that idea gets me fired up, and I hope it fires you up as well, and I hope it helps you see that it's not about being perfect and that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing to do the work to become internally strong. If you are ready to do that work and you want to build the internal strength and confidence that you need to speak like the powerful leader that you already are, I want to invite you to come work with me inside the Art of Speaking Up Academy. Inside this program, you will follow my step-by-step process to strengthen your self-confidence and learn how to speak in a way that is polished and executive-friendly, but that is still authentic to you and your unique style and personality as a leader. The next cohorts of the Art of Speaking Up Academy are kicking off this fall, but there are only a few spots remaining in the fall cohorts. The only way to get one of these spots is to add yourself to the waitlist by clicking the link in the show notes. When you join the waitlist, you will get a private invitation to enroll and claim one of the last remaining spots before the cohorts are full. I cannot wait to do this work with you and see what your transformation story is going to look like. To get that process started, click the link in the show notes and add yourself to the waitlist. I cannot wait to see you inside the program. Thank you so much for tuning in. And one last big thank you to Nicole, Jenny, and Edyie for coming on the show. I will catch everybody in the next episode. Bye.